Let's go to
Jerry.
Let's be a compliment. Do you
Jerry
think so?
Has a 2000 Chevy.
Yes.
And Jerry, how many miles on your S-10 Blazer?
150.
All right, and you've got a starting problem.
Yeah, it always happens when it's been warmed up to operating temperature, and I'll shut it off. This winter it happened about 2 weeks ago. I shut it off and go back to start it up. Won't start. Sort of sounds, it's got a jumpy sound to it on this. Maybe when it turns over, something like maybe it's jump time or something, but evidently not, because usually I leave it set, I try it, and leave it set. After about 15, 20 minutes, sometimes less than that, it'll start up and just no problem whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
And usually when it's done that, I've taken the gas cap off. I don't know if that had anything to do with it, but coincidental maybe. It happened in the summertime, and then here a couple of weeks ago, it happened when it was cold weather.
Okay, a couple questions. First of all, you didn't say anything about any check engine or service engine lights are on, so you don't have that. Second question is, when you do get it started after this problem, does it smell at all? Do you get any, like, raw fuel smell or anything from the exhaust?
No.
Okay, and, well, let's help you out with this a little bit. Is this a 4.3 liter engine?
4.3.
Yeah. All right. One of the first things I think of when I think of that is if we had an injector that at times would bleed down, it would cause two problems. Number one, the fuel pressure would be lost, obviously, because it would take the pressure away from that leaking injector, which would give you double trouble because now all of a sudden you've got a flooded fuel, a flooded engine, and no pressure, at least initially. So that could be something like what we're having, but rather than go on a wild goose chase, we need to maybe put some testing together for you.
Right. Your system uses a central injector with 6 nozzles. You should have even though it's a Vortec type engine, and these nozzles require a minimum of 55 pounds of fuel pressure before it starts again. So if we're below, you'll have a Schrader valve that'll be located by the 2 fuel lines on the top of the intake manifold. And what someone needs to do is to take a fuel pressure gauge, and of course, when it's warm is going to be the best time for the diagnosis, and see you have to have at least 60 pounds of fuel pressure. If it's below 50, when it warms up and the residual pressure is down, the pressure for the nozzles, again, they don't turn on unless there's 55 pounds of pressure or more. You're going to have that starting problem. Now, it's a pretty common failure problem. Now, there's a company out there by the name of Delphi that manufactures an updated injector kit for that truck, for that 4.3 engine. What that does, it takes the mechanical fuel injectors and it turns them into electronic. And you change that whole spider assembly, and that's where you're going to find out where your problem's going to be. Now, here's the good thing about this. We'll say you put your fuel pressure gauge on, and you are at that 50 pounds or whatever, and it's low. So instead of buying a fuel pump to correct the problem, in many cases, guys will do that and then find out they have to put the injector in itself, the whole assembly. This electronic system's a little bit more forgiving. It doesn't need that 55 or 60. In fact, it can drop down to 48 pounds and still have enough fuel pressure because they're electronically controlled. But that's what you're going to find out. You're most likely you're going to have to replace that injector assembly that's underneath the plastic plenum. And again, like I said, Delphi is a manufacturer that produces a changeover. It's a kit that changes that over to an electronic system.
So here, Jerry, we gave you two things. We think we know what the problem is, but so you can verify it, we told you how you can verify it. It's very simple to do. It's a Schrader valve, easy to hook up equipment to, and if you're mechanically inclined, you can do that. Or if you aren't, you can ask wherever you take your car to put this updated equipment on it.
All right, very good. Appreciate it.